Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about my birth center. I was like birth child? My birth center experience. So Bodhi was supposed to be born in a birth center. I had been like researching them before I was even pregnant, really, because I had like baby fever. But I found this amazing birth center in Seattle, and that's where we were going to be living. And I just loved it. It was so beautiful. It was like I don't know if it's like newly refurbished, but it was like a new building. So all the rooms were so nice. I'll put the link down below if you're in like the Seattle area and you want to go there, or you want to use them. They were so amazing. So this is just going to be about my experience there and kind of like how a birth center works. So starting with my prenatal care, there was 3 rooms in the birth center. Each of them had a bed, a little like loungy like couch area for like your family when you're in labor. And I don't know why I said labor, like you're not really in labor. Anyways, and then they had a tub. So that was like the selling point in my choice in them, because I had looked at a lot of other ones and they were kind of like birth centers that like they were like houses that people converted into birth centers, which I'm like not knocking those. Just this one, it was like, I don't know, it was like super nice. So, and they had a tub, which I really wanted to do a water birth. And so I was very excited that I found like such a nice place that they had these tubs that I could birth in. So the prenatal appointments, I think, I can't tell you because I've only had the one kid, and I don't really know what the like hospital experience would be like. But we did start seeing midwives that were in a hospital. So those, I think, were just like any other appointment. Like you went into the hospital, it was like a doctor's office, and you get up on the bed and blah, blah, blah. They do your little check. And then I was like, we did a tour of the hospital where we would be having birth with the midwives, and it just wasn't the like feeling that I really wanted to have with the birth. It was just like a normal hospital room, but like the bathroom in your hospital room was not like, it was really small, like like a pregnant woman. I'm a big person, like I'm 6 feet tall, and then I was like 250 when I was like literally like 250 when I was pregnant. And I was like, there's no way I could fit like in this shower. And they had they said that they had like a laboring tub, so you couldn't give birth in the tub, but you could like labor in the tub. But it was one tub for the basically like the whole floor. So if there was like 3 or 4 other women there laboring and they wanted to use it, you basically had to share, and it was only one person in it at a time. So anyways, I was like, I'm not really into this. So that's why we decided to actually switch to the birth center, and I loved it. So our appointments were done in the room that you're going to have your baby in. You got like up on the bed, laid on the bed. It's like a queen size bed, and they did your like checks, and I'll link some videos down below. We have like some of my, we like vlogged it, so you can see like in the vlogs what the room looks like and stuff. And they like did your checks or whatever, and so you basically did all of your appointments in the room in one of the rooms that you would be giving birth in, which I thought was cool. Also, your midwives, there was 2 or 3 midwives at our location, because there's 2 locations. It was Puget Sound Birth Center, or Puget Sound Midwives. That's what we did. And so we had met with all of them, and then none of them ended up actually like delivering him because we had to transfer to the hospital at the end of it. So so that's kind of how our prenatal care went. It was super easy. I don't know if they didn't do any ultrasounds there. So when we had to get an ultrasound, we did go to the hospital, which I was fine with. So it's pretty like low key, like it's like the minimum of, that's not the word I'm looking for. It's like, not like less hands-on. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank for the word I'm trying to say. But basically, it's not like they run a bunch of extra tests. Like they do the bare minimum when it comes to like the baby, because like I think the whole birthing center thing is like it's trying to be like more like natural. So anyways, and then for the actual labor part, how I think it went down, I loved it. Like Obviously, like being a first time mom, I didn't know what it was gonna be like to have a baby or like to be in labor. So like I knew I was 2 weeks overdue. So leading up to the second week, after I was 1 week overdue, then they started to talk about like, okay, well, we're gonna probably have to try some things to start inducing labor because otherwise you're gonna have to like have a C-section or be induced. And I didn't want to be induced, and I obviously didn't want to have a C-section because I wanted to have a water birth. So they were like, let's try some things. So they gave me like a bunch of list of different things to start trying, and he just was not coming on his own. So they gave me this drink that like this like oil. It was like verbena oil or something that I mixed with like castor oil and some other things in like this really nasty drink. That's what actually ended up like kind of starting my labor and starting my contractions. So once my contractions were started, I was supposed to like tell them or call them when they were like 4 minutes apart, lasting for 1 minute or something. It was like 411. I can't remember what the thing was. So we called them. We're like, hey, I think we're in labor. My contractions are like 4 minutes apart. They're lasting for like a minute. So they were like, okay, go ahead and come in and we'll check you out. So we packed up all our stuff, drove down there, and they checked us and they were like, well, you're like barely dilated at all. I was like, maybe like, I can't remember. I would ask Chris, but he's not paying attention. So I was like, maybe like 2 centimeters dilated. It like was not, but I was like in pain, like this drink, and it wasn't just like labor pain, I don't think, but like this drink made me feel like sick to my stomach. Like the drink was so nasty. This might be TMI, but it like gave me like diarrhea. So like I'm in labor, I'm having like back labor. So basically like period cramps in my back, like, and I'm like having diarrhea. It was like the worst. And I felt like nauseous. Like it was not fun. So they're like, okay, well, like you still have a while to go. So do you want to go home? Like, would you be more comfortable going home and laboring at home, or do you want to stay here? Which I think at the hospital, like I know that at the hospital, they just like, okay, go home and come back when you're like closer to like having the baby. So I appreciated that they gave me the option and let me stay there because like I was like, I don't want to go back home, and I don't know, like I can't tell how dilated I am. Like I don't know when it's getting, like I'm sure if I would have like waited at home, there would have been a time where I'm like, that baby's getting ready to come out, you know? But I was like, being a first time mom, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, I'd much rather just stay here where you guys can be like checking me and telling me like how it's going and stuff. So they let us stay there, which I think is something that is unique to the birth center. So we stayed there overnight. So we went there on a Tuesday night. Fast forward to Wednesday, and they're like, all right, you're having your baby's going to come today. Like, if your labor continues, there's no reason why your baby shouldn't come today. So basically laboring all night, in pain all night. I did not sleep very well. Sorry, this is like turning into a birth story, but they were just checking me like every like hour or 2 hours. And he was not coming on his own. He just was like, I'm comfy and I'm not coming out. So they ended up breaking my water, hoping that would make him come. And still, I don't know, I can't even remember when they broke my water. It was like sometime during the day. I'd say between like 10 o'clock a.m. and 2 o'clock p.m. sometime. And then still no labor. So sometime that night, like Wednesday night, I was getting closer. I was like maybe like 5 centimeters dilated or something, like still like not very far, like 4.5. And they were like, okay, I think it's time to start thinking about going to the hospital, because that was Wednesday and Thursday was going to be me 2 weeks past my due date. And at the 2-week mark, that's when they have to induce the baby, because they say if you go over 2 weeks, that's when it gets dangerous for like having a stillborn. So since it was Wednesday night and Thursday the next day was going to be like me at my 2-week mark, they're like, it's time to talk about transferring to the hospital. And I don't even know why it was like a conversation. Like, I can't remember because there was a lot happening then. If there was like an option where I could have stayed and kept going at the birth center to see if like maybe he would have came on his own sometime on Thursday. But like I hadn't slept, Chris hadn't slept. Like it was like I was miserable. So we like, for the sake of like Chris's sanity and like my health, we're like, let's just transfer the hospital. It was like right across the street, like not less than a half a mile. We just like literally drove over the intersection and went to the hospital. My midwife came with me to like make sure everything got set up. Like she got me checked into the hospital, so I didn't have to do anything. Like she did that all before we left the birth center. So she called them, like set everything up. We drove over there. They had my room ready. I went into the room and she kind of like stayed with me until the hospital midwife came and like did all the checks and stuff. And then once I had I was set up, like I was going to be getting my epidural and all that stuff, then she was like, okay, like let me know how it goes basically. And then she left because she had been up for as long as I had been up. So and then we were at the hospital, so that's not the birth center anymore. So basically once I got my epidural, I think I got my epidural around 11, and around 3 a.m. he was ready to go. So, and even transferring from the birth center, which was like maybe it took us 45 minutes to get to the birth center and get into like the room at the hospital, I had already dilated like 2 centimeters. So I don't know. And then, so yeah, I got checked into the hospital and I was at 6 centimeters, and then 4 hours later, boop, he was ready to come out. So it was a good thing at the end to be transferred. Chris says we will never do the birth center again, but not because of like the experience that we had, just because the hospital was like the freaking like oasis at the end of the desert when like you're about to die, like it was amazing. And he was like, next time we're going straight to the hospital. So we'll see when the next one comes what we actually end up doing, but I think we'll just go to the hospital, make it easy on him. So if you have any questions, let me see, did I hit all my points on this? Oh, the environment I was going to talk about. It was nice. It was relaxing. Basically, that's why I chose the birth center, because we took hypnobirthing. So that's how I was kind of going to get through the labor and delivery. And I wanted an environment that was like conducive to that. So they let us set up like fairy lights in the room. It was dim. We could play music. Like basically we had the whole place to ourselves, and our room was like, it was like basically like we turned it into our house. So instead of doing a home birth, like the next best thing is the birth center birth. So it was a great experience. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below and I'll try to answer them. I will also link the birth center that we used and some videos that kind of show what the room was like if you're interested in and you're in that area. And if you want to check out our website, it is www.lovejamesmarie.com. Check out the shop, check out our blog, and that's the best way to kind of like keep in touch and up to date about what we're doing, as well as our social medias. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Ciao.